All right, kids, white nationalism and far-right extremism has always been a problem here in America. Yet it seems like we've been seeing what could be known as flash displays of hate and white power happening more frequently in these United States since 2016 for some reason. National experts describe a familiar pattern. Small groups of mostly masked men chant and wave swastika or white power flags in public and yell racial slurs at targets as varied as immigrants, black people, Jews, and LGBTQ people. That's according to the New York Times. However, what they left out is white nationalists and far-right extremists prepare. They train. And we need to be ready to push back. Look at these guys. They're just going to get tired from throwing a few punches. Look at my man right here. He looks familiar, and he also looks tired here, too. This group is a fighting force, and it looks like they can barely move this guy. What exactly am I seeing here? Oh. Earlier this month, a group of neo-Nazis marched through the city that I love, Columbus, the city that I was born in, the city that I grew up in. Video and images of white men wearing black and red, waving black flags featuring red swastikas while hiding their faces, made the news all over the country, which is still kind of new to me. I mean, I'm used to only seeing Columbus on national news when an unarmed black person is shot and killed by the police. But still.
Yeah, it's not a joke. Can you lock the door? Thanks. No, this.
So, Ohio's governor, Mike DeWine, said, "We will not tolerate hate in Ohio." Yes, we will. The mayor of Columbus, Andrew Ginther, claimed, "Together, we reject the cowardly display." No, we don't. Shannon Hardin, Columbus City Council president, went, "I'm sorry the president-elect," referring to Donald Trump, "has emboldened these creeps. This community rejects their pathetic efforts to promote fear and hate." No, we don't. Then, current president of these United States, Joe Biden, stated, "The sickening display comes during a tragic rise in anti-Semitic rhetoric and violence that is a crisis the American people should all come together against." Nah, you know how I know? And you want to know why I'm being so negative? Well, it's what F. Joe Biden said. More than 750 such incidents have taken place since 2020, according to the Anti-Defamation League, with more than half of them occurring in the last 18 months. It's growing. Today, we're going to talk about what led to this one of many appearances from white supremacists and other like them in Columbus, along with why they're coming to your sick time, if they haven't made it already. Because, and I hate to put it this way, but there's nothing special enough about us that makes white supremacists come to Central Ohio and only here. Yes, the city of Columbus is bigger than people think. It's mid-sized to large and is top 14 in terms of population. And when it comes to total area and square miles, it's similar to cities such as Chicago, Huntsville, Alabama, Columbus, Georgia, the Jeff that starts with a G of all the places named after Christopher Genocide Columbus. Oh, and
Tucson, Arizona.
With that said, look, I'm allowed to say this. Columbus is also a glorified, overgrown college town with no discernible identity. Yet, there are certain things here about specific neighborhoods and events in particular that attracts these clowns here. So, when neo-Nazis took a self-guided tour in the 614, this time around, people asked 3 questions while clips were being posted over the internet. 1, who are they? 2, what are the police going to do about it? And 3, why didn't they visit the hood?
I bet you won't take your mask off, man. I bet you won't. Cause you a bitch. Cause you a bitch. You a bitch. Shut up.
Well, they are Hate Club 1844. I don't know if these numbers are a mixed up version of 1488, which represent the combination of 2 popular white supremacist numeric symbols, 14, short for the 14 words, along with 88, 8 being the 8th letter of the alphabet, H, so 88 is HH or Hail Hitler. Hate Club 1844 claimed responsibility for the march, and there's rumor that it took place as part of a rivalry with another hate group, making this state something of a turf war. You know, as much as Men who bought matching khakis using Kohl's Cash can battle each other. In body camera footage the Columbus police released the other day, Hate Group 1844 said they had never experienced a response like the one they received here. They said people pulled guns on them and threw cans and vegetables as they marched. One cop pointed out that these no spicy food having bastards were covered in pepper spray. You should know that, according to WOSU, at one point while being detained, the man driving the vehicle accidentally pepper sprayed his partner in the passenger seat of the van. While the others were identified only as about 10 or 11 unknown white men, they should probably know the exact number. A police report identified the driver as Anthony James Altick of Louisiana. Anthony James Altick was convicted of a 2015 shooting at his St. Louis Hills apartment, initially charged with first-degree murder and assault for killing Daryl T. Sims, a black man, and injuring 2 others. Altick later pleaded guilty to second-degree assault and was sentenced to 2 years in jail. At the time, he was on probation for burglary and theft offenses. Last year, he was arrested for hanging anti-Semitic banners along a bridge in Orlando, Florida, violating Florida law. For real? Anyways, Hate Club told Columbus police, "Our country is being invaded and white people are being ostracized." Police said they'd received a report that the club was spraying people with pepper spray and hairspray. The neo-Nazis said they were pepper sprayed first and weren't instigators. This is definitely them spraying somebody with something. The neo-Nazis frequently brought up their First Amendment rights to law enforcement officers and claimed police detained them for merely saying words. They complained about being told to keep their hands above their heads, saying they were losing circulation. One complained that he had to use the bathroom. All of this to say, Hate Club was detained by law enforcement but not arrested. I guess they can be charged later? But CPD didn't abuse these men, shoot them, or violate their civil rights or anything. That's news in and of itself. So that's what police did or didn't do about it. More on this later. As for why neo-Nazis didn't or don't go to the hood, it's clear that they don't want smoke. They did apparently get a little heat, but they're not fire starters themselves, which might be why they went to the short north during an OSU football game when the city shuts down. I've seen friendships end when Ohioans schedule fall weddings on a Saturday. Do they not want us to go? Are they trying to make their nuptials a private get-together with a handful of people? By the way, the Short North is a business and arts district filled with apartments, restaurants, and boutiques. It's dope. You would like it. It's on High Street, situated between downtown Columbus and The Ohio State University. It's where our local Stonewall chapter is located, so the Short North is pretty gay, just like the rest of Columbus. Hate Club looked for little to no resistance, didn't find it, but, and not that there's anything wrong with it, these white supremacist groups are white's worst sausage fests that often find themselves near queer people.
Do me a favor, read this.
Another group of neo-Nazi protesters, this one goes by the name of Blood Tribe, showed up outside of a drag brunch fundraiser in Columbus in the spring of 2023. They were dressed in red and black, wore ski masks to cover their faces, evidently unaware of the fact that, by definition, they are dressed in drag as well. With this taking place outside of Land Grant Brewing Company, so you know black people weren't really there. We don't wholesale do breweries, but we could, and we would dominate.
Hey, excuse me, what IPA do you have on tap?
Blood Tribe was started in 2022 by Christopher the Hammer Polehouse, who purchased the land in Maine to establish a whites-only compound in Maine. Redundant. Are they the brewery state? Another place black people ain't. The Anti-Defamation League refers to Polehouse as a prominent neo-Nazi and leader of white supremacists or something like that. Polehouse started a campaign to develop his land with the goal of creating a retreat in an area where he can train members of the Blood Tribe according to the ADL. Now, Land Grant was hosting a drag brunch benefiting Kaleidoscope Youth Center, a local LGBTQ+ organization. No matter what Blood Tribe chanted, and in spite of a banner of theirs reading, "There will be blood," the drag brunch wasn't phased.
they might get turned on.
Before I continue, I've wondered what I would do if I was walking down the street and came across these, I wanted to call them mofos, but come on, they ain't foeing mo's. Anyway, I think I would look them dead in the eye and say, Chandler, is that you under there? Knowing that the likelihood of me being right and that's that kid's name and having him run back to his 2008 Hyundai Sonata is high, right? The Gen X parents definitely watched Friends, where they lived in a part of New York that had no black people. The goal of that brunch was $5,000, but raised $65,000 in donations. Great response from the community in Franklinton, which is just west of downtown. But again, a neo-Nazi group was looking for little to no resistance and a lack of police presence. No, Blood Tribe's leader isn't from here, nor does he live here. And the group is made up of outside agitators. However, that doesn't dismiss how racist Columbus was and is. Look, this clip of neo-Nazis training that I showed earlier was recorded at Scioto Audubon Obstacle Course. I knew it when I saw it. It's a place I've worked out at and been to countless times. Furthermore, Andrew Anglin, the editor of one of the most visited white supremacist websites in the world, was raised in a suburb of Columbus. Plus, he's around the age of 40, attended Columbus State Community College and The Ohio State University, just like your favorite YouTuber. No, not Reese Waters, me. I graduated from me. Never mind.
We saw you high-five these guys.
What's that?
We saw you high-five these guys.
Yes.
Seriously. What's that all about?
Build relationships.
With fascists?
Really?
Well, I'm not supporting their cause. I'm connecting with them. I'm out here hanging out with them. I'm not here to support their cause. I'm here to support their right to protest. We were talking about my mustache.
A Columbus Division of Police officer was caught in 1080p high-fiving a member of the Proud Boys. A woman confronted him and told him that her son is gay. The Red Oak Community Schools event, which was supposed to feature performers in drag, was scheduled at the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus, where the school is based, but was canceled. Columbus Chief of Police Elaine Bryant said the officer was part of a dialogue team who was there to help defuse the situation. The Holly Drag Storytime event was supposed to feature 3 drag queens reading stories to children and performing holiday songs. Dozens of armed members of not only Proud Boys, but Patriot Front showed up to Clintonville, which is the neighborhood north of OSU's campus, like they said they would when the event was announced weeks ahead of time. Meanwhile, Public Information Sergeant Jeffrey Mooney told the Columbus Dispatch that the school requested a special duty officer, but then canceled the request the same day. CPD's police chief said she understands the optics of the high-five video and that it will be used as a training tool. She also stated that there were no arrests, no violence, and no use of force at the protest. I can't stress this enough. These white supremacist groups want comfort, support, and tolerance for themselves more than anything. If a city does not defend their gays and theys, then they are on their way. They operate under the guise of protecting kids, but when they showed up to New Albany in the fall of 2020 to protest, were they against Lex Wexner, the man who invented that suburb, and his long detailed history with Jeffrey Epstein that's publicly available? No, I want you to answer. What do you think the answer is? And I'm not saying these desperate neo-Nazis aren't dangerous or violent, but I am saying that if only one man stands against them, it makes a difference.
There is simply no time. If we do not stand firm in the way of tyranny now, there will be no memory of America to continue. No history to fight for.
The timeouts on hate aren't working. Black people, this isn't our fight.
Wow! 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 Fucking wow!
If white people didn't want racism, there wouldn't be any. Shout out to the black men who stomped 2 by 2 along the same route that neo-Nazis marched in the short north a day earlier. This was a sign of unity and strength that my man Malcolm, who participated in and likely did some organizing for, said, "Don't talk about hate club more than the counter protests." Sorry. Going back to Columbus's most recent neo-Nazi march, according to body cam footage, as the Nazis walked back to their U-Haul, one cop said, "Protected by a bunch of black officers. Ain't America great?" Other officers started laughing. It's messed up. In a city with a history of segregation, racial covenants, skin color restrictions on housing deeds, highways destroying black neighborhoods, If I put the 4 neo-Nazi protests that I mentioned in this video on Columbus's redlining map, you'll see what's really going on. It's always been this way. I'm not surprised by the level of racism that occurs in my city, and others shouldn't be shocked about the amount of racism in theirs. I've talked about Columbus's racism, bigotry, xenophobia, and anti-queerness, past and present, multiple times on this channel. And just last year, Christopher Cook from Hilliard was sentenced in a white supremacist plot to attack the nation's power grid. And what Andy Downing said capped Cook's evolution from isolated suburbanite to neo-Nazi radical. There are unknown number of others amongst us, recruiting kids with flyers. I'll leave you with this, and I'm just gonna read it from the article as is. It's that good. For his 1913 book, In the Color Line in Ohio, Frank U. Quillen argues that African Americans in the North were actually worse off than Southern blacks in the early 20th century. My grandfather used to say, "Son, you know the difference between the North and South, don't you? In the South, white folks don't care how close you get as long as you don't get too big. In the North, they don't care how big you get as long as you don't get too close." I'm 10 years old thinking, this man is crazy, but that old man had it down. We gonna be all right.
Anyway, I found that a lot of Trump supporters, if you don't actually engage with their bullshit, if you don't actually convey any anger towards Trump being elected, if you're just kind of done and tired and over and you're just like, I mean, whatever happens, happens, they try to find ways to make you mad anyway. Throw slurs at you or say terrible things about whatever marginalized group you're a part of because it's the only way they can feel alive and confident about their choice. Because what's the point of voting for Trump if it's not going to make people angry? If people aren't angry, if people aren't getting any sort of reaction from your choice, what was it all for? What do you gain from it? I said this in a previous post that a lot of Trump supporters are Trump supporters because it's the most attention they've ever gotten in their entire lives, and it's just by being contrarian. That's how alt-right YouTube and the manosphere came to be, because who genuinely gave a fuck about what any of these men had to say until Trump started running for office? You think Nick Fuentes would even have a platform right now if Trump hadn't run for office? Of course not. He would just be a little bitch on an insult for him, just like him and the rest of his peers.